that it could have been creepy or predatory. Oh yeah, definitely.
That was definitely something we thought about. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you had to
we
put.
had to think about that.
No, we had to put a lot of thought to that because I mean, what are you gonna suspect? But that it's you know how dudes are.
So I watched this movie a few days ago, and it was very affecting, and I was very surprised and delighted to find out it was a true story. And Tracy, I wanted to ask you if you could talk about that.
It's inspired by a true story of true friendship. And in 2012, I was looking for my dad online. He had disappeared. He'd do that sometimes. He'd get angry and just be mad and disappear. And I tried calling him, emailing him, texting him. He wasn't responding. I thought maybe he's on Facebook, So I put his name into Facebook and saw this little tiny circle really far away. And I thought it might be him, And so I put add a friend, woke up to this notification, Bob Lehman likes it. And I was like, all right, okay, my dad likes something of mine. We're back, Yeah. And then checked further, and it was another man in Wichita, Kansas, different Bob Lehman. And he was so kind to me for 9 years. He was more paternal to me than my dad ever was. So, and he never expected anything. He was just kind, So I just decided I need to tell the story. I experienced such a healing from this kindness.
I know he is no longer with us, but did he know at all that you were working through this in your art, or that you might make a story about him?
I didn't tell him because I was like, is it going to be weird? I don't know. And but I always wanted to, and I kept submitting to film festivals in Kansas to try to meet him naturally. In 9 years, I never told him what he meant to me. And he did pass. And I had written a happy-go-lucky draft of the script, where... and I was going to give it to him as a present because I was like, I don't know how to tell you, so I'll just give you the script, And after he did pass, I was in such shock that I never told him. So I thought, okay, now I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it and put all this in there because now I didn't get to tell him, so now I have to tell everybody.
John, Barbie, how would you describe the dynamic between your characters in this film?
To work with Barbie, which I had no idea, how incredible it was going to be, was so fun because she's so electric, she's so present, and so whatever you're throwing at her, she's going to throw it back at you with a little spin, with a little twist, which is what you look for in acting, especially in the indie film. You want to have fun acting, you know what I mean? You're not doing a big movie where you're just servicing the plot and you just got to get your check and hope that it's cash and all that. But here you're not working for money. You're working for the love of craft, for the love of storytelling, you know what I mean? And Tracy wrote this beautiful script, and then just with Barbie, it was always going to be fun. It was always going to be exciting. She's so vulnerable, and the piece is so vulnerable. We just had to be present for each other.
I was telling him I was very nervous at first. I was like, okay, John is, an icon. French is an icon. They're so good at what they do. And I was kind of, when we got to Kentucky, we were spending time going through the scenes and everything. And I was kind of like, okay, Barbie, you gotta just be confident and you just gotta go for it. So it was just so amazing because they're so kind and you guys are just so good. And it's so great to observe you and to be able to learn. And, I didn't go to acting school or anything. So I learned from just being there and kind of just talking to people and asking for advice and being in the scene, seeing if something doesn't work. And I'm like, oof, let's redo that one. That one was not it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, maybe that wasn't the right choice. But it was just so fun to play with you guys because also we all cared so much. It was a cast and crew cared so much about this film. We all wanted Tracy to be able to tell her story in the most accurate and just also fun and beautiful way. So it was so fun to do, despite even the big emotional things. I mean, we had fun every day. Some days were a little bit less fun than others, but at the end of the day, it was always jokes being cracked, and even in these emotional spaces, it was so therapeutic. And this journey was just so special to me. I never really worked on an indie like this, and I never worked on a project that I had such access to those feelings and just it felt so natural. And I didn't even, I was trying to prepare for it before, trying to do all that. And then once I got there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it all go and, find this character with Tracy, with John, with French, with the dynamics, which I always find is the best. I always do all this prep, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw it out the window because actually, I'm like, oh, they're giving me something completely different, and I love it. It's actually way better than what I tried. So it was super cool, and always a learning experience, and it's just an honor.
It's interesting because at a glance, people might get the wrong idea about these characters having a friendship. And in fact, that happens with several other characters in the movie. And could you talk about maybe what that says about our own culture and the humanity you're trying?
Do you mean that it could have been creepy or predatory? Oh yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
That was definitely something we thought about. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you had
to think about that.
No, we had to put a lot of thought to that because I mean, what are you going to suspect? But that it's you know how dudes are. So Tracy and all of us had to like really make sure, and I think it was Tracy's casting of Rachel Bay Jones, who plays my wife in the movie, that was really, I think, the reason that it works so well because she really solidifies our marriage as being healthy. You know what I mean? So you don't think that Bob is preying on her, but Bob isn't preying on her. He is actually a lonely, shut down guy who functions. You know what I mean? Since the loss of his child, I mean, everything the backstory you put in there is so clear that this man is damaged, and that Lily is healing him as much as he's healing her.
And I love how, like, with you and your wife, like, she asks the question that the audience wants to know in the beginning.
Right.
Right. Because she's like, you told me to get friends. Well,
not a young woman off the internet.
Off the internet, which is one of my favorite parts.
All the characters are in their own way damaged and lonely. And could you talk about that and maybe how technology plays a role in that in this movie?
I think that it plays a role for my character simply because he's a narcissist, and he's just, the first time you see him, he's just scrolling, looking for dates, and that's perfect for a narcissist because this experience is all about me. I don't have to talk to you or you, and so it just I think it feeds in perfectly, and you see it with everybody. You see it with her waiting to hear from a young man. You see it with him trying to make a connection, and it's all there. And everybody's living it every day.
Yeah, he's shopping too. He's shopping.
Yeah, he's shopping.
The things the way you distract yourself with comfort stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool to have a contemporary film that involves the internet, and it's done so beautifully thanks to Tracy. It's sometimes you can kind of get lost in the screen. I do a lot of computer acting. I feel like I've been doing a lot of computer acting, so it's usually very difficult to kind of feel that human connection. But with this movie, the voiceovers, with everything, it just was Tracy crafted it so perfectly. And I think each character uses the internet just like we all do, and in unique ways, not in the same way that everyone, that most contemporary films or TV.
But the thing is that even in ways that aren't direct, it's anybody who has a phone knows the feeling of when you see somebody with a cracked phone.
Yeah.
That was the detail.
You feel for them instantly. You feel for their thumb. You feel for all of it.
This is a movie about mentors, and John, you've been doing this for a minute now, and I was curious if you saw any of your own life in the industry and the relationship in the movie.
I mean, I do that more naturally now. I guess maybe because I'm a dad. Every kid becomes your child in a way, So I definitely mentor a lot of young Latinx and trying to help them navigate the industry, and I try to create opportunities for them. Yeah, it's become my thing. I mean, was I mentored? There was my math teacher, because I was a problem child and a troubled human being, and my math teacher said, instead of disrupting the class, why don't you use your comedy for good? And I was a punk, so I said, F you, mind your business. But then I did start acting because of him. So I always thank him for mentoring me and seeing, because when you're from the hood, if somebody doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say you're worthwhile, you don't know you're worthwhile. You need that person to tell you that you're worthwhile.